Welcome to the 10 Minutes Gold Mine, where every book gives you a treasure of knowledge in just 10 minutes. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Introduction. The Power of Now is a life-changing spiritual guide that offers profound insights into the nature of consciousness, awareness, and how to live a fulfilled life in the present moment. Written by Eckhart Tolle, the book presents the idea that we often miss out on the beauty of life because we are caught up in our thoughts, past regrets, or future worries. Instead, Tolle urges us to embrace the now, the only time that truly exists, as the key to spiritual awakening and peace. Through a combination of teachings, personal experiences, and philosophical insights, Tolle's words act as a powerful reminder that the present moment holds the potential for transformative change in our lives. Part 1. Understanding the present moment. The fundamental principle of the power of now is that the present moment is all there ever is. Tolle begins by explaining that much of our suffering and stress comes from being disconnected from the present. Instead of appreciating the moment we are in, we are constantly either reliving past experiences or imagining future scenarios. This distraction from the present prevents us from experiencing life to its fullest. Tolle encourages us to become more aware of our thoughts, as our minds are often consumed by past memories or future plans. This constant cycle of thought creates what he refers to as the mind-made self, a collection of past experiences and future desires that shape our identity. But Tolle stresses that this self is not the real you. Your true self is the consciousness that is aware of the thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. The concept of mindfulness plays a significant role in the book. Being mindful means to consciously engage with the present moment and to focus on what is happening now without judgment. By doing so, we begin to recognize the power of the now, and in that realization, we free ourselves from the burden of constant mental noise. Tolle encourages readers to practice mindfulness through simple activities like breathing, observing the environment, and even engaging with mundane tasks like washing the dishes or walking, all while staying fully present. Part 2. The Ego and the False Self. In the second part of the book, Tolle dives deep into the concept of the ego, which he describes as the false self that arises when we become overly attached to our thoughts and identities. The ego is fueled by a desire for validation, security, and significance. It is built on the idea that we are separate from others and the world around us. This illusion of separation creates suffering because the ego constantly seeks external affirmation, leading to feelings of fear, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. Tolle explains that the ego thrives on time. Specifically, it feeds on past and future. The ego uses memories to build its identity and anticipates the future to control outcomes. But in doing so, it robs us of the ability to be present. The ego keeps us trapped in cycles of desire and fear, perpetually creating mental and emotional conflict. To break free from the ego, Tolle encourages us to observe it without judgment. When we become aware of the ego's influence, we begin to disidentify from it. We start to see that the ego is not who we truly are. This realization is liberating because it allows us to step out of the patterns of thought and emotion that have been running our lives. Part 3. Awakening to the Now. Tolle explains that awakening to the present moment is the key to experiencing true peace and spiritual growth. He suggests that enlightenment is not a distant goal or a mystical experience, but rather a shift in consciousness. Awakening happens when we stop identifying with the mind and instead become the observer of it. This awakening brings us into alignment with our true nature, which is a state of pure awareness. One of the most powerful teachings in this section is the idea of spiritual awakening as a shift in perspective. It is about understanding that we are not our thoughts, emotions, or even our physical bodies, but rather the awareness that perceives these things. This shift allows us to experience life from a place of peace, stillness, and acceptance. Tolle emphasizes that the present moment is always available to us, no matter where we are or what we are doing. Whether we are experiencing joy or pain, the now is the gateway to spiritual growth. By embracing the present, we no longer need to seek happiness in external circumstances. We realize that happiness, peace, and contentment are always accessible within us when we live in the now. Part 4. The role of thought. Thoughts are an essential part of the human experience, but Tolle argues that we have become too identified with them. We often allow our thoughts to dictate our emotions, behaviors, and experiences. In The Power of Now, he encourages us to become the observer of our thoughts rather than the thinker. This practice creates space between us and our thoughts, allowing us to detach from the mental chatter that often clouds our perception. Tolle explains that by disidentifying from our thoughts, we can experience life more directly and authentically. Thoughts are fleeting, but our true essence is timeless and unchanging. Learning to observe our thoughts without judgment or attachment allows us to find peace amidst the constant stream of mental activity. He also introduces the concept of inner stillness, a state of mind in which there is no mental chatter, only pure awareness. This stillness is the foundation for spiritual growth, as it enables us to access deeper levels of consciousness and experience the fullness of the present moment. Part 5. Acceptance and Surrender. In the next section, Tolle introduces the concept of acceptance and surrender. To surrender does not mean to give up or become passive, but rather to accept the present moment as it is. Tolle emphasizes that resistance to life's circumstances creates unnecessary suffering. When we fight against what is, we waste energy that could be used for growth and transformation. Surrendering to the now means letting go of the need to control outcomes and simply allowing life to unfold as it is. This does not mean resigning ourselves to negative situations, but rather accepting them as they are and then choosing how to respond. By practicing acceptance, we stop fighting against the flow of life and instead align with it. Tolle suggests that acceptance allows us to move through life with grace, even in the face of adversity. When we stop resisting, we experience a deeper sense of peace and connection to the world around us. Part 6. Relationships and the Ego. Tolle also explores the role of the ego in relationships. He explains that many relationships are based on the ego's need for validation, love, and approval. The ego often enters relationships with the expectation of receiving something in return, which can create conflict and dependency. True love and connection, according to Tolle, occur when both individuals are able to transcend their egos and be present with each other. Relationships rooted in presence are free from manipulation, control, and dependency. Instead, they are based on mutual respect, acceptance, and love. When we stop seeing others as extensions of our ego, we begin to see them as they truly are, fellow human beings with their own consciousness. This shift creates space for genuine, unselfish love to flourish. Part 7. The End of Suffering. The final section of the book focuses on the end of suffering. Tolle explains that much of human suffering is self-created through the mind. The mind creates stories, fears, and anxieties that perpetuate unhappiness. When we let go of the mind's constant need to create problems and identify with them, we can experience a deep sense of inner peace. The key to ending suffering is to become present. By embracing the present moment, we free ourselves from the grip of the mind. As we learn to live in the now, we experience a profound sense of peace, contentment, and connection to life. Conclusion. In conclusion, The Power of Now teaches us that the key to spiritual awakening and peace is living in the present moment. By becoming aware of our thoughts, disidentifying with the ego, and accepting life as it is, we can experience a deeper sense of fulfillment. Through mindfulness, surrender, and presence, we can transcend suffering and connect with the true essence of who we are. Are you ready to embrace the present moment? What steps will you take today to start living more fully in the now? Feel free to share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. That's it for today's 10 Minutes Gold Mine. If you found value in this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep mining for more golden knowledge. See you in the next one.